how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 207, and I sat down with Adrian Gomez. Adrian caught my attention because of a pin he was wearing on his lapel. It said skinhead, and I thought, that's odd. And we began a conversation in the moment about the skinhead music movement, which I didn't know existed, and how it became appropriated by the hate groups that skinheads are more known for today. So I asked him if he would come on the show and talk about what skinhead means to him and about the music movement and all that. And so he did, and it was a really interesting conversation. I think you're going to learn some stuff. I certainly did. Yeah. 2 shows I watched on Netflix this week, Middleditch and Schwartz. I laughed so hard I was howling. It's very, very funny. Long-form improv. Great show. And then the other show, I watched the 2nd season of Afterlife, Ricky Gervais. Oh my gosh, bring Kleenex. It's so good and heartbreaking and beautiful. It's really a lovely show. Definitely brings on the tears. So, usual stuff. Hey Human Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me at susanruth.com. heyhumanpodcast.com is the website for the show. You can email me, Susan at heyhumanpodcast. And I put links on the links page of the Hey Human Podcast website for you to check out books and ideas and things like that are brought up in every episode. Thank you for rating and reviewing Hey Human on iTunes. If you have a moment, please go do that, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And for those of you that have donated to help keep Hey Human going, I really appreciate that. The donate button is there on the front page of the website, and greatly appreciate it if you can do that. So, okay, without further ado, let's get into this. Thanks for listening, and here we go. Adrian, welcome to Hey Human.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You and I are in conservatory together at Second City.
Yes, we are. And
the reason why you're here, other than being an interesting person, is we were at some sort of an after thing, after one of our shows or classes or something, and you had a pin on your coat that caught my eye.
And which one was it?
It said skinhead. And I thought, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially from a guy that is clearly not white. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And you started telling me all about the skinhead culture, the one that I'd never heard of. And I thought that would make a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Cool. I'm here to clear it up for you.
Let's start with you, though, before we dig into that.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I was born and raised in Southern California. Lived in East LA my whole life. I have my parents are from Mexico. Born and raised over there. Immigrated here. They were in a church choir. That's how they met. I got baptized in the same church. That's
so sweet.
Yeah. So, I'm an East LA boy.
Is it funny to think about our parents hitting on each other and getting together? Like being in church choir, they're singing and they're like looking at each other.
I
like,
know.
Oh,
it's catching eyes.
Yeah, it's such a weird thought of humanizing our parents, but that's sweet. So you grew up same area, East LA?
Actually, yeah. It's called the City of Commerce, but I like to call it the rich part of East LA.
Yeah.
The part that doesn't like to be called East LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's divided.
Yeah, kind of. Do you know where the outlet mall is?
I don't know East LA very well. I mean, I just moved here, so I don't know a lot of places yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's near a very big outlet mall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Is that where the kids hung out growing up?
No.
Okay. Where did you hang out growing up?
I would go in Montebello. There's a city in Montebello. I would go to a lot of hidden places where like the punkers or the skaters would go. And
so were you basically punk rock? Did you skateboard and stuff?
I never got really good at skating, but yeah, I would talk to them. Or I was mostly with the punk rockers.
What drew you to punk rock?
Oh man, I love telling this story. I was in 7th grade, sitting in my classroom. It was a home ec class, just minding my own business, doing my work, and some guy walks in, sits next to me, and he tells me, hey, have you ever heard of punk rock? And I told him, no, I've never heard of punk.
Just a random person.
Just a random person.
Okay. The punk rock fairy.
Exactly, that's what he was, a punk fairy. It's so strange that he came up to me.
And he asked you if you were into it, and was he your age?
Yeah, he was my age. He was. I think he was in the class with me. I just never talked to him. I didn't really talk to anybody in 7th grade. I was a very reserved person. And then he comes up to me, sits next to me, and starts talking to me about it. And at the time, punk to me was whatever I saw on MTV, like Green Day or those big bands. And he said, "Nah, man, that's not punk." So he reaches into his backpack, puts out a CD of a band called The Addicts. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're
Addicts with a T or D?
With a D.
Yeah, okay.
The Addicts. And he says, "Have you heard of these guys?" I told him, "No, never heard of them." He says, "All right, here, you could borrow it." It was a Friday. He said, "Listen to it over the weekend and tell me on Monday what you think." I said, "Well, all right, cool, man, thank you." And he said, "But before you do anything, listen to track number 7 first. Listen to number 7 and then listen to all the rest of them." I said, "Okay, I'll do that." So it was, and then whatever, the weekend came. I think it was like a Sunday or Saturday afternoon, I don't remember. And I put it on. I put on track number 7. It was a very famous song with the violin solo in it. And
what's the album called?
It was a compilation album.
Oh, okay.
It was a compilation album. And I put on the track that he told me, track number 7, and I don't know. I've never really fallen in love before, but I like to describe it as falling in love. Like, my heart dropped, and I was like, wow, this is for me. This scene, well, I didn't know there was a scene yet, but this music is for me. I love it. And then I heard the rest of the album. I fell in love with it. And then I started talking to him, and this was around the time when MySpace was really big, right? So I followed The Addicts on MySpace, and then MySpace said, "Well, if you like The Addicts, check out this band." And it was the Misfits, or
sure, that one I know about. Yeah, the Misfits.
Yeah. So that's how I got into punk rock.
Yeah.
And then I started hanging out with him a lot on all the ones from the middle school, and then I went to high school. Did it
change? Sort of, not literally, obviously, but did it change your DNA with the way maybe you dressed or how you thought about the world? And talk about that a little bit.
Oh, God, definitely.
Because you're what, at this time, 14-ish, 15?
7th grade.
Oh, 7th grade.
Yeah, this is 7th grade.
That's what, 13?
I'm thinking like 13.
Yeah.
Man, that's very, very young.
It's very young.
I don't remember how I used to dress before then. I'm guessing just, I don't know, cartoon t-shirts, I'm guessing. But after that, I started buying t-shirts. Well, my parents started buying me t-shirts. They didn't know what they were buying me. It was like, I said, "Oh, Mom, I want that." Like, okay. It was a cool little logo. They liked it. They would buy me my t-shirts. And, but I started hanging out with them a lot. What it is out here in LA, there's a big punk scene. It's like all over. It's like in East LA and South Central, even in Hollywood. And every weekend, bands come to play like at a backyard, like a backyard gig. And that's where I would hang out a lot too, on Friday nights, Saturday nights. Doing things that teenagers shouldn't be doing.
Sure.
Getting into fights, getting into mosh pits, all that stuff.
Was that part of the culture then?
It was. That's how I discovered that there was a culture of punks in LA.
Why the fighting part?
I don't know. It's just adrenaline, I guess, and people are intoxicated. And
was it mostly boys?
Yeah, it was a lot of guys, but
so it's like testosterone, adolescence, angst. The music with getting your heart pumping, that exactly, combo it turns you into wild animals.
Yes, exactly right. You know what's up. But yeah, there were women as well. There were girls too, but not as much as the guys. Yeah, so I would start hanging out there a lot. I'm sure. There were bad things there. There were alcohol. They were giving alcohol to young minors. I was never around that. I was too afraid to get caught by my parents.
Are you an only child? Do you have siblings?
No, I have younger siblings.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people would, like, teenager stuff, rebellious stuff was going on. Mosh pits. But that's what attracted me, was the mosh pit and the adrenaline that you get when you're in it. That you might get hit in the face, or you might just get pushed, or...
The unknown?
The unknown. The unknown of the mosh pit.
That's, I read a lot about different things in the cutting, and that it makes them feel something in a world that seems numbing to them. And, or, a host of other reasons. There's a control, there's a lot of stuff. But to me, going into a situation where, I might get hurt, I might get a broken bone, I might get hit in the face, I might, something insane might happen, to me that's somehow triggering the same, it seems like it's triggering the same part of the brain, perhaps. It
could be, I don't know. I was never around people who cut themselves or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a little more serious.
I don't know, I think it's just different. I don't know if one is more serious. I mean, if my kids were jumping into a pit full of people that are beating them up, I think that's also willingly to me. To me, it's sort of in the same realm. One seems a little bit more intense, I suppose, because a knife is involved. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to look into that, because it feels like sort of the same, seeking the feeling. Were you into the words of what you were hearing, or was it more the music?
I really liked the music, because a lot of the words were, well, who am I kidding? I liked the taste of alcohol, I still do. But a lot of those, depending on the bands that you would listen to, they were about streets, about street life, about how everything's hard and you have to fight for it on your own. Depending on the area of where the band is from, really. Like the bands from England, the punk bands from England would always talk about work hard, work for yourself, don't let the man bring you down, or there's nobody that'll help you up, you have yourself, and that's it. In LA, it was mostly, I hate my parents, the police is a big
authority
thing.
Figures.
Yeah. ACAB is what they would always say. ACAB, all cops are bastards.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a very across-the-board statement.
Yeah, it is. And for a while, I would believe all that stuff, that my parents were out to get me.
Even though they were loving and supportive.
Even though they were loving and supporting. Like,
it is, see, right there, to me, is the most interesting thread of all of it, because it is an indoctrination, right? You're being programmed to have this mindset, this ideology, and that's fascinating. It's put in a nice musical package, whatever the music is, but that to me is fascinating. That you can take a person, totally normal kid, kind of shy, whatever, gets along with their parents, and then suddenly they're like, fuck the police, fuck my parents, fuck society. That's fascinating.
Yeah, but
it's because kids don't know the different, they don't have the wherewithal yet to have critical thinking, perhaps. I mean, they do on some level, obviously. They're not morons, but they haven't reached that level. I think, as you were saying now, stepping one step out as an adult and realizing, I have obligations. And I have, it's just that stuff fascinates me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a bad thing. It's just kids discovering themselves.
Totally, self-identity. Yeah. But I think it can go.
It can
go into places.
It can go
that
to
are dark.
Very bad places.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why I got into it wasn't much about my parents. I mean, I always wanted a mohawk, a big colorful mohawk, but they never let me get it.
You would look good in that, I feel.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. I always wanted a big colorful mohawk with earrings dangling, but they never let me get it, and I think that's what angered me. But it wasn't a big deal. What it was is that I was bullied a lot when I was younger. I was bullied a lot.
What were you bullied for?
I don't know, just because I was very quiet. I was a quiet kid. I didn't really talk to anybody. I just mind my own business.
Which made you different.
Yeah.
Kids don't like different.
No.
It freaks them out.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't big. It wasn't a lot of bullying. And I was never jumped. I was never really insulted. I was like, oh man, this kid.
Picked on.
Just picked on. This kid's weird. That, and I think that got me mad a little bit.
Sure.
And that's what also attracted me to the pits.
Well, because you were and I use this word all the time. I'm sure that my listeners are like, oh, here she goes again. But you were seeking your tribe.
Seeking my tribe.
I mean,
it makes sense.
Yeah, we all are looking for our mirrors, the people that make us feel like we're not crazy or weird or inside out or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, our tribe.
It makes sense, yeah. It is like a tribe.
And how far along into your life it's a part of your life now.
Oh, yeah.
But how deep did you get at that point? When you were younger? Now, how old are you now?
I'm going to be 27 this summer.
Okay. That's what I was kind of going to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it made me who I am today, really.
How so?
Well, in the punk scene, well, at least in East LA, Montebello, where I was around, there was like there were a lot of my friends were really into like movies as well, because the scene comes with really cool movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and a very cool particular movie that I never knew about until I was in the scene was Singing in the Rain was one of them. Yeah, I'll tell you why Singing in the Rain was really cool.
Everybody just went, what?
Yeah. But the reason for that is A Clockwork Orange. I don't know if you've seen A Clockwork Orange.
I love that movie. Yeah. It's intense.
Yeah, there's a scene in that movie where the guy is singing in the rain. Where Alex sings Singing in the Rain.
It's a pretty intense scene too.
It's an ugly scene. Yeah. It gives me chills.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that movie is really big in the punk scene because of the way they dressed. They acted a lot like British punks or like US punks. Yeah, and that movie attracted me, and then I heard the song Singing in the Rain in it, and then it's like, oh man, it's a cool song. I looked it up. I didn't know it was a song by Gene Kelly. I was like, whoa, this guy rocks. This guy could sing and dance, and that's why I discovered Gene Kelly and all that, and that's why in the scene Gene Kelly is important, but so is the character Alex DeLarge. Two very different characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I think the reason why that movie is important is because the way the Droogs dress. There's a punk.
The what?
The Droogs.
The Droogs, right? Yeah. From the movie.
Yeah, from the movie, the Droogs.
Clockwork Orange.
Yes. Because there's a scene there are bands dedicated to that image, like the Addicts, like I said.
With the bowler hats.
Yeah, the bowler hats, the white, the suspenders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I've seen that movie, but it had an effect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like there are bands like Lower Class Brats is another one that's their image. Yeah, that's why it's important that film.
Well, it's interesting because again, in that movie, the violence against women is pretty prevalent. So, in the punk scene, how are women revered or not?
They're not attacked like that. They're actually very respected. Like in the mosh pit, there are rules against women. Like, you can't, obvious rules. Like,
don't deck a girl.
Yeah, that's one of them. Don't deck a girl, or don't be inappropriate with their touching them and stuff. If you get caught, you'll get your ass beat. You'll get jumped. If you get caught being rowdy with the girls.
Yeah.
So the girls are pretty respected. I mean, if they respect themselves, if they're trying to catch a fight or something, I'm sure something will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So 27 now. This was when you were a kid. As you came through the genesis of who you are and the music you're into, what bands have stuck with you besides Addicts?
Cockspire. Yeah, Cockspire is a really good one. Booze and Glory is a newer band, but they speak a lot of good stuff. The Oppressed was a band I would always listen to. Let's see, Lower Class Brats, like I mentioned earlier, that's another one. All these bands just really they say stuff like Cockspire has a song called Because You're Young, and it talks about being a young kid, looking for yourself, doing whatever you want. But they also have another song called Tough Guys, which is about a really tough skinhead guy who just needs love. He needs somebody to love than to love him. Those are the songs that really stuck out to me.
When they talk about skinheads, though, they're not talking about the kind of skinhead that I thought when I saw the button. I went, wait, that doesn't make any sense to me. Let's talk about that for a sec.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you, what's a skinhead?
In my mind,
yeah.
And the idea of a skinhead is someone, the outfit that is punk rock to me, the boots, the black boots, the jeans with the cuff jeans, white t-shirt, probably, and kind of muscly.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Earrings, tattoos, and anti-Semitic. Anti-black, these are the images I think of a skinhead being somebody that is neo-Nazi type situation.
Yeah, and it's not your fault. I mean, I used to think like that too about skinheads, but it's just not the. It's not.
But that is a skinhead. But that's not the skinhead that you're referring to as a skinhead.
Exactly, but we don't even call them skinheads. They're called boneheads in the punk scene and the real skinhead scene. Those guys are not a part of us. They're not in the scene. They're called boneheads.
They appropriated.
These were just guys and women who liked the tough skinhead image, the original traditional skinhead image. They think, oh man, those guys are cool and they look tough, and they just took it and they stole it, and they got all the media attention. And that's why all the skinheads are now labeled as
And to you, what is a skinhead?
Well, okay, a skinhead is... Oh, man, it's really cool. So they were... Skinhead originated from England, right? Like I told you in the party. They come from England. They were... Before, they weren't even called skinheads. They were just called rude boys, which is a thing. They were... Okay, so let me back up.
Does Rihanna have a song about rude boys?
I think so, but I don't think it's about the same rude boy. I don't know, it could be. I don't know
either.
Yeah, but you're right. She does have a song called Rude Boy. A rude boy is basically a Jamaican, right? A Jamaican. He dresses really nice. He has his nice shoes. I don't think they wore boots. They had their nice dress shoes, the white shirt and the suspenders, and the reason why it was big in England is because they immigrated in like 68, 69 to England, and they brought their music, the reggae music, and their style with them, and they moved to like the bad parts of England, like Brixton maybe.
Bad because it's poor, probably because
poor.
It's what they could afford.
Yeah, exactly.
Immigrants trying to.
Yeah. So there were obvious British whites already living there, and then all of a sudden these Jamaicans come in with their music and their dress and their influence, and so the white kids liked it. Like, oh man, this is really cool. My buddy's Jamaican. He dresses really nice. He listens to really cool music, reggae music. I like it. I'm gonna adopt it. I'm gonna be with him. So the white guys started dressing up like rude boys, but not fully, not to the full suit, and like they made it their own. They got their dad's work boots. Literally, that's what they did. They got their dad's work boots and their dad's like thin suspenders, half inch suspenders, and they would put on like their button-up shirts and just walk around like that, hang out with the Jamaican kids and with each other, and just listen to reggae music, right? There was I can't remember, a club. I think it was called the Roxy out there. I think that's what it was called. In England, yes. And there was a big DJ named Don Letts. This club was like the only like rock and roll club at the time. I think that's what it was, a rock and roll club. And then this guy Don Letts, a big old Jamaican with dreadlocks and everything, he would play, like in between sets, he would play reggae music, and the white kids would like, oh man, this is cool, this is good stuff. They would start dancing like the black Jamaican kids. And that's another way it was influenced in the culture. And then, so it was big for a couple years, like 69 to like 70. After that, it died down. I'm not sure exactly why it died, but it did. And then all of a sudden, it came back in like the later 70s. It came back, but with like an uglier. In the uglier image that you see, like the National Front over there started recruiting these young kids because they looked tough and they were still discovering themselves, and at the time there was big animosity against Pakistani immigrants, and and they were like, yeah, we don't like, they would use slurs against the Pakistanis. And
so the front came in, saw the Rude Boys, and took them and got them.
Yeah, not necessarily the Rude Boys, because Rude Boys were black Jamaicans.
Oh, yeah.
These were
the white kids that had adopted the ideas.
They were called Peanuts. The white ones, they were called Peanuts at the time.
Peanuts.
Yeah, Peanuts.
But it is interesting because when we talked about you and growing up and what drew you into, you were kind of shy and whatever, and you got drawn into this music, and that's that same thing. I think that people who are recruiting for hate groups, they look for the kids that are a little bit on the fringe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That don't quite fit in, that need someone to love them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's all it was.
And love by someone who's hateful is still love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
Yeah, that's what ultimately happened. And but around the 80s, it came up in New York, out of all places.
It just sprung up?
Yeah, it just sprung up, but it was...
80s was a time for things springing up. Dance things and music things. It was...
Really?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. The underground dance culture of the 80s, especially during the AIDS epidemic, like people finding, again, their tribe and expressing themselves through dance, and the gay culture, all that stuff, the Vogue and all that. And even there's that show, Pose, that talks about the dance and yeah, so fascinating. Anyway,
it was.
Go on,
it
sorry.
was. No, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so in the 80s, it came up too in New York City, but, it was the bad image again. It was the skinheads that you know about now.
So skinheads started popping up around it.
Yeah. Eventually, they got the term skinhead because of the media. These guys...
Because they had shaved heads.
Yes, exactly. They got shaved heads to rebel against the norm of the long hair, and also because going back to the 70s, the hippie movement, they were not very good with hippies, so they didn't want to associate, so they would also shave their heads for that reason.
Now, meanwhile, while that's happening, so while this anti-group is forming that is opposite from what you say the skinheads that you understood, what's happening there? So the people that aren't part of that movement are seeing this happen.
Yeah, the traditional skinheads, they're getting kind of upset. Like they're stating our beautiful name, because the skinhead means dress well, polish your boots. Your boots are everything. Keep them polished and clean. Listen to great reggae music. Yeah,
your shoes look very shiny.
Thank you. They need a little polish, but yeah, that was the thing. Dress well, be clean cut, clean shaven. Being a skinhead had nothing to do with fascism, and that's what these kids, or adults, I guess, too, were upset about. So a group of traditional, non-racist skinheads, they started a group that's called right here, SHARP, a group called SHARP, which means Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice, and they started. And the logo is like a little Trojan, and the reason why they took that is because they got it from a reggae company that produced reggae music called Trojan, right? But what they did is they just flipped whatever was.
So just for those of you listening, Adrian's showing me is this a CD?
Yeah.
The Trojan Skinhead Reggae Box Set, limited edition, 50 tracks. 3 CDs, The Charmers, The Creations, Sir Harry, King Cannon, The Soul Rhythms.
And those are all black groups too.
Really?
Black artists.
Vincent Foster. And this, the artwork is very all worldly to me.
Mm-hmm.
The rainbowy kind of green orange. Well, that's Africa, I suppose, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, these guys made up this group called SHARP, so that the people who knew about skinheads and punks would see them and say, oh, okay, these guys are not what the media says. But
nobody listened.
Nobody listened. I mean, there was a point in time where I don't remember this guy's name, but it was like late 80s, early 90s. This guy was advocating really hard to say, you know what, skinheads are not what you guys are saying. Like, they would go on shows like Oprah. Like, this guy and his group of sharps went on Oprah, and They even went on Gerardo. That's his name, right?
Geraldo Rivera?
Oh, yeah, Geraldo Rivera. Yeah, they went on his show. And I don't know if you know that episode when Geraldo gets his nose busted with a chair.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, that was an episode dedicated to skinheads.
But which skinheads?
Okay, it was I like that episode, but I also don't like it because it gives, like, he drives it towards the bad skinheads.
Were both represented on the show?
What it was is, like, the panel on the stage was all a bunch of Nazi skinheads, ugly of them, ugly guys, and in the audience in the front row were the regular skinheads, the sharp skinheads, the black skinheads, the rude boy. There was even a rude boy, I think, and a punk rocker. They were all there in the front row, but they didn't really get a voice.
Of course not, because that is not what sells.
Yeah, they didn't really get a voice too much. They got here and there, but not too much.
Sure.
Yeah, and then what happened in that fight was one of the bad skinheads on the stage said a racist, anti-Semitic remark, and then which sprung up a black activist who was also on the stage named Roy Ennis. I don't know if you heard of him. He was a black activist at the time named Roy Ennis, and Roy Ennis got up, started talking, and then the racist guy was like, "Hey, sit down, calm down." He was getting panicked, and then that's when the fight happened. That's when the fight happened, and then
Geraldo got his nose busted.
Geraldo got his nose busted. Someone threw a chair at him. And, yeah, that episode was made the skinhead image worse.
I imagine. Was that the 80s?
I think it was
90s?
No, I think it was in the 90s. Like a year or two before I was born.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The media has always been the person to blame. You know?
For pretty much. Yes, which is ironic because this is technically media, but yeah, I get it. Totally. What are these other books you brought?
Oh, let's check them out. This one here, the first one. Is it okay if I see the title of the books?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, so he's saying that because he asked if he could play music, and unless he wrote it, there are very particular laws about playing other people's music on platforms.
Oh, okay.
So this is what. However, when we're done and all that, I would love if you would email me a list of music and things that I can put on the links page so that people can go and listen if they want to and check out books and all that stuff.
Okay, great. So the first book I brought here is called Black by Design.
Wow, that's a cool looking person.
Oh man, she's cool. Her name is Pauline Black. She's half black, half white.
And she's from the band The Selector.
Yes, she's from the band called The Selector, one of my all-time favorite bands, The Selector. She's the singer. They're a band from England. I totally skipped this, but there were waves of skinhead. The first wave was the one I talked about with the Jamaicans. Then it died, and then the second wave was hers. It's called two-tone. I don't know if you've heard of two-tone. It's a lot of ska music.
I know of two-tone records, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's similar. Yes, it's a lot of ska music. So it was just a combination of but by this time punk had already existed with the Sex Pistols and Television and all those punk bands. So it was a combination of punk with reggae, which was two-tone. And she was one of the pioneers. Her band, The Selector, also The Specials. The Specials.
I have a couple Specials albums.
Yes, The Specials are.
The Specials.
You know those guys. That
was big when I was in high school. Everybody loved The Specials.
Oh, they're such a great band.
We all had Specials records.
Actually, I've seen them.
We get stoned and listen to them.
It's the best, man. But yeah, I bet you didn't know that these guys were part of a big skinhead culture. I
just thought they were punk, an offshoot of reggae punk. We just called it. I grew up in Seattle. We called it reggae punk.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah, that's just
But the British version, So The Selector, The Specials, the English Beat.
Oh yeah, I love the English Beat.
Yeah, the English Beat. They're another one. There's a lot more. I can't remember right now, and I'm sorry to them.
No, it's okay.
But
when you think of it, email me and I'll put it on the
list. But these guys are pioneers of the music, of the two-tone music.
Yeah.
Of the skinhead music, and what they represented was unity with blacks and whites. That's why the ska logo, or if you look up ska, SKA, you'll find like checkerboard, black and white. That meant unity with the blacks and the whites in the skinhead scene. So yeah, that was the second wave of it. And she represents it, and she talks about, in her book, she writes about how she got into it, how she, she had a bad childhood because she was adopted, and she writes how the skinhead culture was just very attractive to her. Mm-hmm. But she also writes or talks about of what happened. She talks more about the scene in England and what happened to it, and it's a cool read, a really fun read. I recommend it. Another book I have is a fictional book written by Richard Allen. It's just titled Skinhead, and this one is a fictional book about a guy named Joe Hawkins, and in it I think the character is a skinhead that you're familiar with. He's very aggressive.
He's the hateful kind.
Yeah, very aggressive, very lost, how I would say it. But it's still a fun read too. It's called Skinhead by Richard Allen. And he has other books too, called Suede Head, called, I think, Skinhead Girls. So he just writes about it. And the last book I brought is called... Okay. It's okay, I'll get them there.
Yeah, I'll get them there.
This one's more like a picture book.
Oh, wow.
It's just called Skinhead by Nick Knight. And this dude, he was a photographer, but he was also in the skinhead scene.
The which one? Okay.
Yeah, the photographer of all those pictures. So those are all his buddies, and at the time, these are all primary sources.
Oh, I love that it has the clothes, what you're supposed to wear, and
how to wear it. Look how fashionable and beautiful these men and women were.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Jude Law, the way Jude Law dresses. Wow. It's very English, isn't it?
It is. It's very British. And their tattoos. I could talk about tattoos and what they mean, too.
Interesting. But is this book representative of
the traditional...
The traditional culture,
yeah. The ones that have nothing
love
to
the
do.
outfits.
Oh, I know. They're beautiful, man.
Yeah,
I
really
love
cool.
them. So after the...
Third wave?
Yeah, the third wave, which is the racist kind. The one that I talked about. The traditionals, like I said, they were getting kind of upset, kind of angry. So they started, along with the Sharp logo, they started getting tattoos that represented, I'm not with them. So what it was like, it was a skinhead guy on a crucifix. Yeah, on a crucifix. The tattoo is called the Crucified Skinhead. It represents crucified by society and by the media. Like trying to say, I'm not a racist skinhead. You guys are crucifying us. Just come talk to us. But you don't
have that tattoo.
I don't, because I never considered myself a skinhead. But I love the scene. I love the girls in it, the guys in it. So yeah. I know a lot about it. But I never got the tattoos. I had my hair shaved for a bit, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And I got the boots and the suspenders, but I never really hung out with a group, like a family of skinheads or anything.
Yeah, because you have boots, you've got the jeans that are rolled up, you've got the skinny suspenders.
I even got a T-shirt that says skinhead. I mean, but
have you found as you're moving around, like I did, and said, hey, what's that about? Sometimes people don't ask questions first. Sometimes people get aggressive first. So have you experienced anyone being that way? Challenging you and your skinheadness?
They're not really. I've never really had a fight for it, but I've definitely been called out, been asked, why are you wearing that? And I had to explain and stuff.
Do people listen?
If they definitely hear me, but I don't know if they'll listen.
Yeah, well.
I don't know if it says.
Yeah.
Like in Santa Monica, there was this one time I was walking on Santa Monica and an old guy walks up to me and says, he tells me, why are you dressed like that? Why does your shirt say skinhead on it? Do you know what that means? Like, he was getting very...
Agitated? Understandably.
Very agitated. And I was trying to explain, and he wouldn't hear me, so I just walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably the best thing you could do.
Yeah, it happens.
If people aren't willing to listen, then...
They're not.
Yeah, it's not much you can do about that. Where do you see the music heading?
I don't... Well, I don't know.
Do you think it's gonna become more its own vehicle to push out the negative stereotype?
I think the skinhead music is gonna stay where it's been. It's gonna stay with reggae, because that's a big part of it. It's gonna stay. I mean, and it's gonna stay in the ska. I don't think anything new is gonna come out of it because that's. I don't know. I think it's just gonna stay where it is. It's a staple in time in the fashion. But there is a new band though, called the Interrupters. They're pretty new. They were discovered by the singer of Rancid. I don't know if you know the band Rancid.
I do.
Yeah,
I'm a pretty hip kitty.
Nice, I can tell. Yeah, so yeah, he created this band called the Interrupters. That's the newest one. Hopefully, it starts up again.
Do a lot of new bands come up, or is it more of a old school?
Well, I mean, recently, I mean, in the 90s, there were definitely a lot of bands influenced by...
But 90s is 20 years ago, though.
I know. Yeah. But, yeah, that's the latest I could think of. Bands in the 90s like Operation Ivy or Rancid, basically the same band. Ivy, Rancid, even Green Day, some parts, Blink-182. All those bands were definitely influenced by the skinhead ska.
By the pop. Yeah. Shoving it into the pop canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, to sell records and things.
But, yeah.
Do you still go to shows much?
I don't go to backyard shows because it's a bunch of teenagers, but yeah, I go to concerts all the time.
Do you get in the mosh pit?
I get in the pit.
What's that like?
The mosh pit, it's so fun.
Why is it fun? It looks terrifying.
It looks scary, but it's fun. But it's a challenge getting to it because, the entrance of venues are all the way in the back and the mosh pits are in the front, right close to the stage. So you have to shove and push your way towards the front because there are people just standing there reserving their little area. I got a good spot, I'm not going to move. So you got to push around these guys. So as soon as you find your way to the front, there's a circle of people, the people that form the wall of the mosh pit. And you could be in that wall if you want, just shove. If they get close to you, just push them out of your way. That's always fun, pushing people. Or if you really if you feel the adrenaline rush, you just have somebody push you in, or you just go in yourself and just start,
Or jump up and over, I guess.
Jump up and over. I mean, if you're on the stage, sure, jump and jump into the mosh pit. I guess people do that, but no, you just push your way into the pit. And as soon as you step in there, because the circle's going in one direction. There aren't people going all over the place. It's all in one direction.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all in one direction. And if you get people
are turning while it's.
Yeah.
Are they dancing or is it just movement? Is it?
Well, depending. If it's ska, I mean, yeah, people are dancing to a ska beat, skanking.
But in a
circle. It's I don't know.
Fascinating.
I know. But if it's just punk rock, or even metal, even metalheads do this too. You just push yourself in, and the guy who's closest to you in the circle or girl, they just push you into the circle to part of the formation. And so now you're part of the circle.
I've seen people jump up into each other, though. Is that part of it, too? Or,
what do you mean, jump up?
Well, the videos I've seen, mosh pits.
Yeah.
They're sort of leaping up and into, almost like ramming bulls or bucks that are being seasoned,
Yeah, that's a part of it, too. But it depends on the band on stage, too. The more hardcore the band, the more hardcore the pit.
Have you been injured ever?
Oh, my God, yeah. Yeah. You just opened a memory that I had forgot, but yeah, I have.
What happened?
I was at a Social Distortion concert. I'm sure I know you know about them. Social D.
Yeah.
I was in a Social D concert. How old was I? I must have been 19. It was at the House of Blues at Valet when it was still here. I was in the pit. No. Oh, yeah. Okay. Here's what happened. There was no mosh pit. Me being myself, I started the mosh pit. I started pogo dancing, jumping up and down, bumping into people. And so I made the pit happen. Then I got tired, whatever. So I moved my way to the front because I wanted to see Mike Ness do his stuff on the guitar. And then some big fat guy comes up to me. He puts his arm around my neck, drags me into the mosh pit. He loses his balance, so he brings me down with him. I fall on the floor, but he falls on top of me, and his knee lands on my chest, and that knocked the wind out of me. As soon as I got up, I was like, hey man, what's up? Like I use uglier words. Like, hey, what's up? I put up, my dukes to fight this guy. And then my friend, I didn't know he was there. He just comes up to me and he's, no man, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Let's go. And he pushed me. He pulled me away. But I don't know. I was ready to fight this dude who knocked the wind out of me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My heart's beating faster right now. Are a lot of your friends into the same stuff you are?
My friends now, no, not so much. But my friends in high school, yeah.
Yeah. Do y'all get together and go to concerts together?
Yeah, we would. Yeah, we would. Sometimes we would take the train, or one of our parents would take us. Yeah, but I don't do that too much with them anymore. Mm. I talked to one guy from the scene. I still talk to him from high school.
Yeah.
So we go out every once in a while.
As you get older, and the things that people expect of someone who's getting older, in just society and such, do you think this will still be a part of your life as you age?
That definitely. I mean,
still get in the mosh pit at 50, that kind of thing. I mean, do you see older guys and girls out there doing it?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. It depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, that's
fair. It all
fair.
depends on the person. If he or she is willing to get in a mosh pit at 50, go for it.
Take your vitamins, get in there, do your yoga.
Yeah, but I don't really see many. Every once in a while, yeah, sure.
Do you have any shows coming up that you're going to?
Yeah, next Sunday I'm gonna go see TSOL in Long Beach. I think it stands for True Sounds of Liberty. They're gonna play in Long Beach. I'm gonna go catch them. But there's a big. You gonna get
in the mosh pit?
If there's one, sure. I'll get in. I'll film it and send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's this big cool one in Las Vegas called Punk Rock Bowling. It's a festival, like a 3-day festival. I think it's on Memorial Day week. I don't remember on which weekend exactly. But it's a 3-day festival, Saturday through Monday, and it's just non-stop punk bands from England, mostly from England and from America.
And a different the blending ska punk too. And
everything. There's ska bands. There's regular punk bands. There's oi bands. I mean,
what's an oi band?
Oi. Okay, I'll tell you about oi. But there's that concert is gonna be really fun. I'm going. Vegas. I'm going. I need to start saving
Vegas,
up for the hotel.
baby.
Oh yes, Vegas. But yeah, oi. Let's talk about oi. Oi was also part of the skinhead culture, but it's more hardcore. It's more, I don't know, street. I mean, I don't know. That's the music that I like most. Is oi, just oi. That's all it is. And it started in England with, the Cockney Rejects, Sham 69, all those guys out there. Actually, there's a song called Oi 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 by Cockney Rejects, and I think that song coined the term for the genre. Oi.
Okay.
Music, yeah. It's just more hardcore. It's more like what I was saying earlier, working class. It means working class kids trying...
Is that my stomach or your stomach?
Well, I don't know.
I think it's mine. Sorry.
I can't hear.
I have a punk rock stomach.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's working class kids, men and women, boys and girls, figuring themselves out. That's what a lot of the lyrics are about. Just fight for yourself, work hard, and don't let anybody bring you down.
I mean, that's a great philosophy.
Yeah, that's what a lot of their songs are about. But yeah, it is a great philosophy.
Have you ever been to Jamaica?
No. No.
Is it on the list?
Yeah, of course. Of course it's on the list.
Now I have to go back and listen to Rude Boy. I have a feeling that's what that song is about. Why would she sing about a rude boy if she wasn't singing about a rude boy? Yeah.
She could just be singing.
I feel like I've never paid that close of attention to the lyric on that song. I love her voice, but I heard the beats of that song are what enticed me.
That would be cool if she was, because that means that somebody as big as her knows about the culture. And
yeah, I have a feeling we should Google it. Okay. Do you have your phone? Is it on? Did you turn it off?
No, I turned my phone off.
Oh, okay, never mind. We'll look it up. I'll look it up later, and stick it on there because I am curious. I have a feeling that that's probably what it is.
And I think Kanye has a song called Black Skinhead. I wonder if that's
Of course.
Because, black skinheads exist. I mean, they're what started it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering
Well, with Kanye, though, it's anybody's guess. He may be talking about a black person who is racist. You know what I mean? Who knows? Mm-hmm. It's not like white people have the market on racism. Everybody gets to be racist.
Yeah.
Yay! There's the title of the show.
Hope not. Here's a better one. Skinhead is a fashion, not fascism.
Oh, that is a good one.
I like that
Okay. It's more wordy, Adrian. I don't know.
Whatever. I'll type it for you if you want.
This is really fascinating, and I appreciate you bringing your knowledge, because I had zero clue. And this is a lot of this music I grew up listening to, especially the specials. But I didn't know. I didn't know all of this history existed. It makes sense because music has its roots in so much. Obviously, the purpose of music is deeply rooted in people's passions and beliefs and struggles and all that stuff. So it certainly makes sense. Thank you. How can people, if they have a question for you, do you want them to email me or do you want them to email you?
You could email me, sure.
What's your email?
It's 93adrian.gomez@gmail.com.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I can put a link on Hey Human Podcast because, people might want to get references or know about things. Or maybe they feel like, why am I the only person that likes this and there's nobody like me? It's just nice to feel connected.
Yeah, but there's a great documentary on YouTube.
What is it?
I don't know the exact title, but all they have to look up is Skinhead Don Letts, and you'll find it's like the first one there.
Okay.
The DJ I told you about describes the whole culture very well, very beautifully.
Great. I'll put a link to that on heyhumanpodcast.com as well on the links page.
Yeah, I mean, out here in Los Angeles, there was a skinhead culture. They would call themselves Unity, and they're the ones who, I don't know, I like to say they were the ones who got rid of the Nazis out here. They would fight them off, and tell them to get out. I mean, so there is gonna be gangs of it, whether they're good or bad. They still act like gangs, I mean, that's there in LA. And in England, I'm sure there are more, It's just part
more
of it.
Which?
More, it's more united out there,
The positive skinhead?
Both positive and the negative.
And fascism. Okay, yeah.
They're more united.
Well, fascism is certainly on the rise.
I mean, with the NF out there. National Front, yeah. I mean, there's factions everywhere.
Are you a part of the LA?
No, I'm not part of any.
You're just a lone wolf.
I'm just myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because if I associate myself, then I would have to hang out with them, and I don't have time to hang out with people.
I know, right? That's how I feel. I don't have time to hang out with people. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and it's very interesting stuff. And I'm glad you reference books and things.
Oh, yeah.
I think people, historically speaking, there's a lot of information. So
there is.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adrian.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Rate and review Hey Human on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks, everybody. Bye.